Mm.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Vanda. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Great. I know we had a great time last night at the spa, and it was just so amazing. I woke up like still feeling in heaven from it.
Yes, it was so amazing. I sincerely appreciate you inviting me.
Yes, when I tried to do that video of you outside, the wind was blowing and I couldn't hear you, but I was going to ask you what your favorite takeaway from the spa experience was.
Like I said, first of all, it was being with you and your wonderful friends and having wonderful food, fellowship. It was the whole thing.
Oh,
You know,
good, good.
I love the experience. I was talking to my daughters today, and I said I felt like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in that furnace in the last one we went in. I understand that concept now and how the Lord just took him out of there. So that was such an awesome experience for me.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave. I can't believe we stayed there 8 hours either.
Practically, yes. It's like I can't wait to go back. And I'll make sure I go early in the morning so they will not have to kick us out, okay?
Right, right. That's funny.
Yeah.
So last night I was learning some things about you. So that's kind of why I wanted to get you on here so we can find out more about who Deborah Samuel is. So can you tell us a little bit about your passion?
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, I'm Deborah Samuels. I am an award winning grant writer and small business consultant. And I was active in our SCORE chapter for over 7 years. So, with
Oh,
that knowledge, um, I was considered an expert as it related to grant writing and helping people get grants, funding their businesses, funding their dreams. So that is what I am so passionate about. Telling stories, compelling the funders to give us that money. And
mm,
I think that's what's so important. It's one thing to write grants, it's another thing to get the award. And so that's why I say I'm an award winning grant writer because I love getting those award letters, not for me, but for my clients and the communities in which they serve.
okay. Have you ever done any for like an agricultural neighborhood or I think I was telling you a little bit about what I want to do is have a agricultural neighborhood or agrihood. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the first thing about writing grants for anything like that. Is that something that even though you don't know about it, you could probably find out and work on something like that?
Now, my experience have been in what we call in Ohio food deserts and making sure we decrease those efforts as far as making food accessible.
Mhm.
So I can relate to my experience in Dayton. And so now, believe it or not, we have what we call the Gem City Market on Salem Avenue, which is close to downtown. I'm talking about that part of Salem Avenue. So a
Mhm.
lot of residents got together and sponsors and built, let's say, a $3 million grocery store. Unbelievable, unheard of. And so what they did was they utilized urban farmers to get the fresh produce because we all want fresh produce, you know. So it was a situation where I would have to go at least 15 to 20 miles to go to a grocery store. And so now that has been diminished. So to answer your question, I've worked with the USDA, and I've also worked with a lot of funders and sponsors that will be more than willing to help take up that cause and sponsor it because it's a need.
Yeah, so I would say the answer is yes, absolutely. Great. Well, we'll be working on that. We're gonna be working on that for a little bit. So I can't wait
Okay.
to relocate down here. We don't have to wait till you relocate, actually. We can still start working on it, but it's gonna be
That's
a fun
right.
project.
Because everything, due to COVID, everything is remotely now.
Yes.
We don't have to be in the same building anymore, with our wonderful computers and access to Zoom. We're able to do everything, and I'm not saying thanks to COVID because we were doing it before COVID, but now, post pandemic, we're doing it more and we can appreciate it more and we're getting a lot of things done more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to get in touch with those people that's doing the agri-hood development in Richmond, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get with them and, see if we can do some partnering, something like that. But tell me some of your other passions. I know that's a passion, grant writing, and you have more than one passion, as most of us do.
I do. I am so passionate about our women. And I must say, I'm more passionate about women and their breast health, making sure they're wearing the right type of bra, making sure they're wearing the right type of undergarments so that they feel good inside. Because when you look good, you feel good, you do good. And so I want to say that I'm on a mission to be able to help educate women, especially in the underserved community, about breast and cervical cancer. Statistics say that 1 in 8 women develop breast cancer over a lifetime. And I think a lot of that has to do with women they're not educated about taking care of their breasts. And so I've worked with it. I have no family history of it, but it has been my passion for over 20 years. Going into churches, using an evidence-based program. And the program that I used was the Witness Project. It's an international program, and it allows you to go into the churches or synagogues or wherever. It doesn't have to be a church, but have a program in which we utilize women that have had breast or cervical cancer, and they testify on how they've been able to get over it. And it motivates other women to be more mindful of checking their breasts, doing the monthly breast self-exam, as well as getting a mammogram. And so that's what I want to do, increase the level of women going to get their mammograms, checking on their breast health, and most importantly, making sure that they're wearing the right size bra, especially as we mature. We may have dense breasts, our breasts may sag a little, but I'm here to tell you there are bras that lift, tuck, minimize, and still give you that comfort that you need. So it's like I want to educate them about the bras, the body fitters, the shapers, the nipple covers. It's like I have so much to educate and motivate women. So I want to be able to utilize that platform as well.
Oh, okay, cool. My mother-in-law just went and got a mammogram last week. And she hadn't had one in years because she's 84 years old. So she still needed one. But this new doctor is like, yeah, go get a mammogram. And she went and got it. But I know I'm guilty myself of not always checking every month like I should. So, but I do go get mammograms.
Okay. And it's something that, I feel is very important. Just like you put your appointments on the schedule, you should put your breast self-exam on that schedule. Once a month, you should be checking your breast.
I'm going to do that right now. Because if I don't, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to do it for today, and I'm going to make it every month on the 3rd. Check your breast. Check your breast, lady.
Yes.
All day. And it's going to be repeating every month.
Yeah.
Every month.
Mm-hmm.
All right, saved and done.
Amen.
Now I just got to do it. Yes.
Okay, yes, yes. And so that's one of my passions. I love, like I said, educating and motivating women, period. Whether it's, in regards to breast cancer, cervical cancer, starting their own business or nonprofit. I feel that we
Wait,
are
wait,
here
wait,
to,
wait. Back up. Starting their own
okay.
business or nonprofit. What do you do with that?
So let's start with nonprofit. So I help my clients from beginning to end. Beginning meaning, to help submit for their 501c3 through the IRS, which entails making sure they have their bylaws, making sure they have their articles. And I guess I can say, first of all, making sure they have a vision and a mission, to be able to serve the community in whatever capacity, whether it's housing, health, education, um, whatever,
Mhm.
have a mission. That's the first thing, and then your vision. What is your vision? Not only for this year, but for 5 to 10 years to come. A funder wants to see that you have skin in the game. You just don't want to start a nonprofit just to start it, but you want to actually see it grow and develop. So after you get your 501c3, helping you to um, apply for grants and to have a grants management system, because once you start getting these grants and you have to manage it. If you're getting one from the federal government, then of course that's different from getting one from the Houston Foundation. Two totally separate entities, two totally separate budgets that you would have had to submit, but yet they both have to be managed, and they have to be managed properly. Because everybody wants to know, what are you going to do with the $50,000 that we're giving you?
Mhm.
So you have to be able to say, well, I'm going to pay my staff, I'm going to supply transportation, I'm going to make sure that I am getting professional development so that I can continue with this. So they're going to ask you for a budget. How much is it going to cost to run it for 1 year up to 3 years? And so I help my clients develop everything. I pretty much do everything for my clients. All they have to do is review, and we sign it and we submit it.
And then you're out of the picture?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I was
My
wondering, like,
client,
okay, then what?
I am on a contract, and sometimes when the contract is over and they've gotten the money that they feel they need, and they feel sufficient in being able to monitor everything, then that can be the end of the contract. But some of my clients have retained me year after year after year. So say for instance, during COVID, it was so much money coming down the pipeline during COVID. So that was definitely a very, very, very busy time for me, in a way that I was able to get my clients. I think the minimum was $250,000,
Hmm.
because everybody was giving away money on a local level, on a state level, county level, and of course on the federal level. And it's not to say that the funding has stopped, it's shifted, where they're being more precise, as far as their giving. One of the programs that I'm very proud of in the state of Ohio is their fatherhood initiative. Ohio leads the country as far as bringing programs, evidence based programs, to help the fathers in the state of Ohio become more responsible fathers. And of course, if you have a responsible father, you have a responsible, healthy family. And so Ohio has taken the lead on building healthy fathers and creating healthy families.
So is that a nonprofit that's doing that?
It is. It's a state driven program. And of course, they offer funding to nonprofits to be able to duplicate the same thing in their community.
Yeah, I had thought about starting a nonprofit, and I think it was the paperwork that got overwhelming for me. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do this right now.
It's okay. That's where I come in. Because it is, and it can be intimidating. 40 pages.
Yes,
that you have to
yes.
fill out.
I got it printed out and I'm like, oh, I need all these people and I gotta do all of this. I'm like, this sounds like another whole nother job. And I'm
And
like,
it
I'm not
is.
ready for that.
It is. And, running your own nonprofit, it is a job, it is a business. And if you want to sustain and grow it, it's going to take people, it's going to take funds, it's going to take a vision, and it's going to take a budget so you can see where you are compared to where you want to be. So
Okay.
the budget that you create now is not going to be the same budget 5 years from now.
So do you
And
need
so
money to start a nonprofit? To get money to sustain it and keep it growing?
just like the old song said, nothing from nothing is nothing. You gotta have something.
Gotta have something, I know. Like in the house with no down payment. Well, you may
That's
not be a
right.
down payment, but you're gonna need some money.
You need something to bring to the table, right?
Yeah, you
And
need
so with that
something.
being said, yes, I would suggest, definitely planning out. And the first thing I always go over with my clients is the budget. Making sure that you have all of the allowable expenses that you need up front, in a sense, or shall
Mhm.
I say on paper. So that way we know how much money we're going after. So say for instance, your program budget is 100,000 and you already have your nonprofit. I always try to break it down to quarters. So that means you need to be bringing in at least $25,000 a quarter. That may mean actual grants. It may mean sponsorships, investors, in-kind services, and donations or interns. It's so much that's available out there. You just have to be able to, in a sense, let the funder know what is it that you want, what is it that you need, and also being willing to collaborate and network, because a lot of funders, they want to see that now. They want to see that you're connected, and I'll use breast cancer as an example. They want to see that you're connected with the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. They want to see that you're working with the churches. They want to see that you're in the community connecting those dots to get the women that are in the churches, in the synagogues, even in school. So
Got
it's
it.
all about connections, collaborations, partnerships, getting the word out. Pretty much just exactly what you're doing, connecting people to the resources.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
Very interesting. Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I love what I do. I'm an expert, and I feel so blessed, to be able to meet different people, go into different communities, and educate them about the grant writing business as also a way to let them know this could be another business, because you don't have to have a degree to be a grant writer, just so you know. We do have different certifications that are available, but this is nothing that I went to school for. I was in the church in Las Vegas, and an organization, the Congress of National Black Churches, came to the church and were looking for people to get this funding from HUD. It was a $50,000 grant, and they wanted churches to get in on it as a way to help foreclosure prevention at that time.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, what do I have to do? $50,000? All I had to do was to write an essay on how I would use the money. And I asked the funder, I said, well, can you give me like some examples or anything? She gave me examples. I got the statistics, and I got the $50,000.
Wow.
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. And that's how I started my grant writing journey, right?
Only
And
takes one. You like, oh, I like this.
at first I couldn't believe it. because that's a national funder hood, right? And I'm like, if I can do this for us, I can do this for a lot of other churches and a lot of other people who need funding. And back then, we were able to write our own checks in the sense we were able to put in our salaries, our friends' benefits, our transportation, our travel, everything. And they were all HUD approved expenses.
Wow.
Yes. And the program still exists. But one of my short term goals is to train other people to become grant writers. It's such a deficiency of African American grant writers that I want to train. No one trained me back then, Vanda. It was so secretive, secretive, hush, hush. Nobody wanted to share anything.
Hmm.
So I prayed, I'm like, Lord, please, show me who I need to talk to, bring the right people my way so I can learn. Because they weren't teaching it in college. I don't even know if they're even teaching it now on grant writing, right? So I met a sister who came in from, I want to say Chicago. Let's say Chicago, right?
Okay.
And she was a grant writer and a board member of the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And she said, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to give you a sample and you take it from there. She gave me a sample of a grant that had been awarded, and I've never looked at
Wow.
it. I was so thankful for her. And so my first grant with the Susan G. Komen Foundation, $50,000. And it was in Ohio to educate in the Lincoln Heights area and surrounding areas women about breast cancer. Awesome program. And it was in the hood. So I have to say, money motivates. And so we were able to put in stipends to be able to motivate women to get their mammograms.
Hmm.
And also back in that time was the era of phone cards. And so we partnered with AT&T and they gave us phone cards. And I took it a little deeper. I started walking the streets because that was a drug infested area. And I started giving the cards to the drug dealers as long as they filled out that mammogram card. When I tell you I ran out of cards, I ran out of cards,
Oh, wow.
because everybody back then, those phone cards, and it was $25. Those phone cards were like gold back in those days. You remember you had to buy a phone card. And
Yeah.
so my point is these grants, you can include incentives or stipends,
Hmm.
whatever it takes to motivate people to come to your program and actively participate in your program. I think, this is a time for us to think outside of the box and be more creative, as far as getting people into your programs, because data equals dollars. If you can show the data, it's like you're pretty much guaranteed to get the dollars.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So one of the things that I want to do, because I'm an educator for the last 20 years, and so now I'm educating in real estate. I want to educate teenagers about financial literacy.
Mm.
So maybe once or twice a year, have a program where they come in for 4 hours and we kind of, do some role playing and educate teenagers like 14 to 18 about financial literacy, the benefits of being a homeowner and how interest works, how money works, how insurance works, things like that. I would love to have a grant for something like that too.
And I was going to say, all these banks, they have grants set aside just for that financial literacy. They want to come into the neighborhoods They want to come into the churches, into the schools to be able to educate and motivate our youth to first of all know how to budget, right? And then to know how to do a savings and a checking account. And some banks will even help them open up one with, say, like $100. You
Mhm.
know, that's motivation to anybody. That Chase Bank will give you $100 to open. Yes. Not saying that they're doing it, but they can. And I've seen it done. So I'll say to kind of like sum that up is it's all about the ask. You know, People give because they're asked. You know, Friends give because they were asked from another friend to give.
I always say, closed mouth don't get fed.
Right.
I tell my
And
granddaughter that, like, how am I supposed to know? Closed mouth don't get fed. You gotta say something, open your mouth and talk.
and then I always say it's biblical. Even the Lord said, ask and keep on asking. Ask and it shall be given unto you.
Yeah,
So I truly, truly, truly believe in
me too.
it. And so just start asking your bankers, the person that you bank with. You know, it's all about building relationships with the funders, and it's period. Even in life, it's all about building those relationships. And so as we think about fundraising, which is another portion, I think, to grant writing, you want to make sure you build that relationship first before you ask. you
Yeah.
know. So our bankers, we have relationships with the bankers on a personal level. Now let's take it to a nonprofit level. What services do you offer besides the business services to nonprofits? And you'll see every bank has a foundation where they give money,
Hmm.
and like I said, it's all about building that relationship with your banker to let them know what you're doing. They'll provide volunteers to come out to your business and educate the youth.
Hmm.
They'll even sponsor, like say, it's 4 hours, so say lunch. They'll sponsor the luncheon, and like I said, they will be there every step of the way to make sure that these kids are educated and motivated to start minding their money.
Mhm.
hmm
You
So
got
I
my
think that's
got my
wonderful.
head going now. You got my head
Okay.
going now. Like, okay.
It's so many different ways. And like I said, post COVID, we have to be creative. You know, the funders, they want to see creative things. Um, I guess I could say one success story is in Dayton. There was a grant that came out in Northwest Dayton. So they were only funding business nonprofits in Northwest Dayton. And so my client had an in-home daycare center, right? It's for profit. Well, I have my nonprofit. We collaborated and we were able to get over $147,000.
Wow.
Collaboration. She never thought about doing a collaboration with the nonprofit. So due to that collaboration, I was able to help her get her own nonprofit. So now she can have her own funding coming directly to her because you can do that type of relationship, but that would mean I would be not in control, but I would be the fiscal agent for that grant. So say it's for a year. So as a fiscal agent, I'm responsible for all of her dollars. I'm responsible to make sure that I pay her every month, as well as anything that she needs in regards to the budget that we submitted and the programs that she is doing for her fathers. And I put fatherhood in there. And that's what sold it.
Hmm.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, because you never hear about in-home daycare facilities getting grants. It's
Mm-mm.
unheard of. But we had to think outside of the box and
So,
work together.
Yeah, I
to
work
benefit.
with a lot of nurses or people that have home care agencies in their home, residential care facilities. So
Mhm.
that could be, something that they may want to do as well.
Another way to get funded, or another way to get funding, to be able to partner with a nonprofit, because the nonprofit allows you to receive profit in a sense, whether you're having a product or a service. If it's under a nonprofit, you don't pay no taxes. You can get everything donated to you. You can even get houses and commercial property donated to you.
You speaking
Did
my
you know?
language now.
I was gonna say, did you know that, Vanda?
I I had heard it, but it's kind of like I heard it.
Yes, it has happened, and I've seen it. Like, I was involved in the transaction,
Okay.
as far as, actually working with the realtor who was working with the bank, who worked with the nonprofit. They donated the house. But of course, um, what we did was we worked on it, and she didn't want the house. So she sold it and was able to keep all the proceeds.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Or you can flip it, you can remodel it, and put someone in the house where the rent is more affordable. Because right now, we talk a lot about affordable housing
Right.
and making it affordable.
Okay.
Because a lot of the houses that went into foreclosure, and I have to use Dayton because I'm not familiar with the Houston market yet. There were so many houses that were lost due to the foreclosure. And a lot of nonprofits were able to benefit off of that
Hmm.
because, majority of them were in neighborhoods 45405, 45406, 45417, which are all underserved communities.
Hmm.
That's when they were working with GM and they were making long money. But when that great, I don't want to say great recession, but when that fall hits, it hit really bad in Dayton. And a lot of the places, a lot of the homes are still empty. And so the city decided that they are going to demolish the houses. And so I'm working on a couple of committees there to be able to save some of those houses and donate it to nonprofits so they can turn them around and make it more affordable to the people that are in their program or within their community.
Hmm.
Because that's the thing that we're facing up there. A lot of renters went up on their rent. And so it's unfortunate that there are a lot of evictions.
Okay.
We want to prevent evictions. We want to make sure people are housed and that they are housed affordably. And that's another one of my passions, making sure people are housed. It's affordable housing, and that in one day they'll be able to own that house.
So that's the goal of mine too, for this agri-hood development. It's not going to be the 300, $400,000 houses. It's going to be, as we were saying yesterday, smaller, maybe one bedroom, maybe a tiny home. And they'll be able to own it or rent it or use it. We're going to have a spa there, and it's going to be a luxury destination place, but people can
Yeah,
also live there. So I'm
yeah,
anxious to work with you so we can get that on the ground,
yes,
off the
I
ground.
believe. Hmm.
Right now
Hmm.
it's on the ground. We want to get it off the ground.
Yes, we want to see those houses built.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you were able to join me today so I can learn more about you and your business. And I'll be sure and put your information on here. But if you want to say what it is, go ahead and tell people where they can contact you.
I love to talk, if you can't tell. It's like, don't give a grant writer the mic, right? But they can call me at 937-301-7735. Again, my number, Deborah Samuels. is 937-301-7735.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Vanda. I really appreciate you having me on your show today.
Thank you. And I'll be talking to you soon
Okay, have a good one.
too.
Okay.